I just wanted to thank everybody who took the time to wish me a happy birthday the other day. Sorry this came 2 days late, but I was really wanting to delay this video until today because today was actually my grandmother's birthday. And for those of you who know me, my grandmother was very important to me. She basically raised me for a number of years. And about 10 years ago, in November, she will have passed away. She died of, she had cancer all over her body. And the year that she became terminal, I moved to Texas, started going to school, and my mom called me one day, and I'll never forget it. She told me that my grandmother's bone cancer had spread up her spine, into her skull, and it was just everywhere. And she didn't have very much longer. So needless to say, just a couple months later, I think it was around September when she told me. My friend Joe, Saint Germain, he was working night shift at Target with my other friend Jose that I had moved down to Texas with, and he came home. He said that my mom had called him overnight, saying that I should come home because my grandmother was basically on her last leg. So I forget what day in November it was. I want to say maybe November 1st or 2nd, something like that. I flew home the next day. I was there the next morning. And I'm not sure if I was the last of the grandchildren to be there, but I know that, I'm the oldest. And, I saw her on her bed, and she was still lucid then. They hadn't doped her up with painkillers yet. We got the hug, and, tears didn't come yet just because, you don't want your last lucid moments with, someone you care about that much to be emotional and choking back tears and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes it's inevitable, but it wasn't like that. We talked for a couple minutes, and over the next couple days, they started increasing her pain medication. I forget which one it was. It wasn't morphine, it was something else, because the morphine, I remember, was making her very nauseous. And we spent all of our days at the hospital until November 7th. It was a Sunday, I think, and it was very early in the morning. My grandfather, kind of an amazing story when you think about it. He spent every day there, with his wife for 48 years, and he's sleeping on like one of those really crappy army cots they give you. And he decided he was going to try to go home and get some sleep. And he got home and he couldn't sleep. He missed my grandmother, So he lived in Southington. She was in St. Mary's in Waterbury, which is only about like a 20-minute drive. So couldn't sleep, got back in the car, and went back to St. Mary's. And soon after he got there, she passed away. She had lung cancer also, so her lungs were steadily filling up with fluid, and I guess the rest. So he was there during her final moments, which thank God he did, because I don't think if he hadn't gone back, he would have ever forgiven himself. I mean, it was hard enough on him afterwards. You aren't married to somebody for 48 years and all of a sudden they're gone and you're just okay with it. I don't think time will ever heal that kind of wound. I mean, it was already 10 years ago, and you can see it in him. You could see that every passing moment, every passing year, he misses her more. And who could blame him? They're married for almost 50 years, half a century. Imagine spending that much time with somebody that you love more than you love yourself, that you've had a family with, you bought all your, your first home, you've had your first child, just everything, the ups and downs, for 48 years, and all of a sudden that person's gone. And the following days, it was just, I don't remember much of it. I remember, my Uncle John not caring, everybody coming out from Illinois and getting ready for the funeral services and stuff like that. One thing I remember is trying to put together these damn bunk beds. They were these big, heavy wooden bastards, and no one was there to help me. And I remember just being down in the basement and just cursing and sweating, And I remember saying a small prayer to Grandma, my grandmother, just like, Grandma, seriously, just just please help me put these damn things together. Like, I was trying to put them together because my cousins were coming out, and, everybody needed a place to sleep where I was staying at my grandparents' house. And soon after that, I had them together. So whether you believe in the power of prayer or not, that's completely up to you, but I still think she helped me put those goddamn things together. So, the wake was coming up soon, and I remember getting a call from a specific family member. I won't name him, just because I don't want to hear it. But, they called me, and they asked me, when's the wake? And I said, I think it's tomorrow night. When's the funeral? I think that's Saturday, whenever it was. I don't remember which day of the week it was. I remember it was a couple days after. And they said, oh, shoot, my friends got me a vacation. I won't be able to make it. And I just remember being disgusted. How can you know somebody for decades and just go on vacation when they die? It doesn't matter how you feel about each other during life. Her vacation's permanent. She's not coming back. You can go on vacation anytime you want. But you just decide that, the hell with it, I'm going on vacation because, can't do this again. Yes, you can. So whatever respect I had for that particular person is gone. It has been for a very long time. But, I just remembered, the funeral, my mother getting up, and she read a eulogy, and my mother, let me tell you that story real quick. My mom was going to school at the time, and one day, she was doing very well. She had all A's, and she was going to school to be a surgical tech. And my grandmother had a nurse coming by, to take care of her, bathe her, stuff like that, because she had a hospital bed, and towards the end she couldn't get around so good. So one day my grandmother called my mom, who was living in New London. My grandmother lived in Southington. She was like, Joan, the nurse, I don't feel comfortable having a stranger, bathe me. Would you mind coming up? And she dropped what she was doing, said, Mom, I'll be there in an hour. And she went up there and she relieved the nurse, and she took care of her mother until the day she died. That's remarkable. You gave up, she gave up her entire life, everything that was important to her, to take care of her mother in her final days. Not a lot of people would do that. But she was there every step of the way. And her and my grandmother were close before, but they became like best friends before she died. So, at the funeral service, my mom wrote some of the most beautiful words I've ever heard in any eulogy. I haven't heard many eulogies, but she made it through the entire thing. She broke down towards the end, but not so much that she had to walk away from the altar or anything crazy like that. And she read the whole thing, start to finish. And I wish you guys could have heard it. I wish I had a copy of it, because it was the most amazing dedication of literature that I've ever heard. And I remember after she read it, and I was a pallbearer, and I remember carrying the coffin out to the hearse and lowering her body into the ground. It's like once you lower the casket and they start to cover it up, that's when it becomes real. So, she would have been 78 today, and I just want to wish her a happy birthday, wherever she is. And I don't follow religion very much, but the main reason I try to keep my faith in God is that maybe hopefully one day I'll see her again. So, excuse me. Happy birthday, Grandma. Happy 78th birthday. We love you, and we miss you very much.